Today at 4, following breaking news out of Charlotte, Cats officials have released surveillance video of the deadly stabbing on a light rail in South End. The recent random attack has renewed security concerns on public transit in the Charlotte area. And because the video is so disturbing and violent, we're choosing not to show it in its entirety. Queen City News anchor Robin Kennedy joining us here in the studio to give us more on this breaking development. Robin.
Right, Alicia, and the part of the video that we are showing you is just incredibly hard to watch. We do want to give you just a moment to look away if you think you might need to before we show this video. And we are choosing to air part of the video so that people can understand how random this attack was and how it just could have been anyone on that light rail. The suspect, DeCarlos Brown, is already on the light rail when the victim, Iryna Zarutska, gets on Friday, August 22nd, right around 10 p.m. Brown sits behind her for about 4.5 minutes. He doesn't seem to look in her direction at all, doesn't even seem to notice she's there until suddenly, out of nowhere, he pulls out a knife. Zarutska has no idea what's coming. The suspect quickly stabs her 3 times and then just walks off as if nothing happened.
So I'm not sure how many of you have heard about this story. It happened about 2 weeks ago of this young woman who immigrated here from Ukraine, and she was unalived on our light rail system here in the Charlotte area by a man who has been in and out of prison. Now, I'll play the video for you again, but before I do, I want to talk about how there are a number of things going on in this video. Number one, more than likely, this man is dealing with some kind of demonic possession or demonic oppression, because everything that's mental illness is not necessarily something that can be medicated. More than likely, something spiritual is happening with this man. And in fact, he's been out of prison so many times, in and out of prison, and yet he was let go back on the street. That shows you how black politicians and black judges and people like that are used to push these soft on crime policies, because they're used to push lawlessness. They're used to push chaos in our urban areas. And I say that because the city of Charlotte has a black mayor, has a predominantly black city council, has a predominantly black county of commissioners, and the person that let this person go the last time was a black judge. And this happens in a lot of urban areas. They use black politicians, they use black leaders to push soft on crime policies, to push lawlessness. And it's intentional, because they want to use the atrocities of the past that have happened to black people to justify lawlessness, to usher in, to cause chaos, to create division amongst us. People are using this as a point of division to make it seem like it's a black and white thing. No, this is not a black and white thing. This is a spiritual thing. This is a demonic thing. It is sad what happened to that young lady, but this has been happening in the black community for decades. Decades. This type of thing has been happening in the black community for decades. And people talk about Black Lives Matter. This stuff has been happening in the black community for decades, and nobody wants to do anything about it. But now they're starting to spill out into other areas, which they wanted it to do. Now people are starting to, and they do it because they want to create division amongst us. You got race baiters on both sides. People are using this situation right here with the young lady that came from Ukraine as a means to drive a wedge between us, and we can't let it happen. But because black politicians are used by Marxism, communists, and socialists, the Cloward Piven strategy to cause chaos, to sow division amongst the ethnicities, they always advocate and always want to keep these people who are violent criminals. Violent criminals. This dude had a violent past. A violent past. He should have been locked up. He's clearly dealing with demonic possession, demonic entities causing him to act the way he acts. Because when you see this video in its entirety, you'll see that that man was compelled to act the way he acted on that train. And that young lady was not discerning enough to get a sense of what was going to happen. It was sad what happened to her. It really is sad. It's sad. There's no explanation for that. That's how you know it's demonic. There's no human explanation for why another human being would attack somebody he doesn't even know, unless it has demonic influences that led to that. And it's sad. But what I'm saying is that this stuff is starting to spill out into other communities, and now people are up in arms about it, but this has been happening for 50 and 60 years. Why do you think places like Chicago and Baltimore, they've had black mayors, we have a black police chief, we have a black sheriff, and yet the crime is worse because these people don't see it as something they need to resolve. They don't. They don't see it as something they need to resolve and take care of. And so therefore they don't do anything about it. As a matter of fact, they tacitly endorse it.
For following breaking news out of Charlotte, Cats officials have released surveillance video of the deadly stabbing on a light rail in South End. The recent random attack has renewed security concerns on public transit in the Charlotte area. And because the video is so disturbing and violent, we're choosing not to show it in its entirety. Queen City News anchor Robin Kennedy joining us here in the studio to give us more on this breaking development. Robin.
Right, Alicia, and the part of the video that we are showing you is just incredibly hard to watch. We do want to give you just a moment to look away if you think you might need to before we show this video. And we are choosing to air part of the video so that people can understand how random this attack was and how it just could have been anyone on that light rail. The suspect, DeCarlos Brown, is already on the light rail when the victim, Iryna Zarutska.
You'll see he's already showing signs of being disturbed. And he got on the light rail without a ticket. So he shouldn't have even been able to get on the light rail system, because here in Charlotte, you gotta have a ticket to get on the light rail system. And even the officials, the security people over the light rail, are not taking responsibility for this either. People don't want to take responsibility anymore. But you see, this man is already disturbed. That's why I tell you, this is something dealing with demonic influence, because you'll see how he looks like he's disturbed. And all of a sudden, it's like something told him to get up and do it. He didn't know this woman at all. That was his first time seeing this woman.
On Friday, August 22nd, right around 10 p.m., Brown sits behind her for about 4.5 minutes. He doesn't seem to look in her direction at all, doesn't even seem to notice she's there until suddenly, out of nowhere, he pulls out a knife. Zarutska has no idea what's coming. The suspect quickly stabs her 3 times and then just walks off as if nothing happened, leaving her to die. So sad. And Brown changes clothes and runs off the light rail at the very next stop. Now, Brown is in jail, charged with murder, and he's being held without bond. Since that deadly stabbing 2 weeks ago, city leaders have called for extra security on the light rail. And we wanted to know how riders are feeling and whether security officers are becoming more high profile. Light rail riders have mixed opinions on whether they've noticed more security on the light rail since the stabbing.
When it happened, of course, I was very disturbed, and I was like, I don't know if I still want to take the light rail.
I have not noticed a change in security, either an increase or, in fact, I've seen more absent.
I have noticed like an increase in security, but only at specific times, like more so during the morning when I'm commuting to work.
We rode the light rail Friday around noon, starting at the east-west station near where the stabbing happened, and went round trip for about 20 stops. We did not see a single security officer.
I do think they need to step up some more measures. I don't know what that looks like.
Charlotte Area Transit says they are 35 officers short-staffed right now and working to hire the full 219 they have allotted through their contract with a private security firm.
Does that worry you with your security, knowing that really you haven't seen any changes since the stabbing?
Very much so.
Tell me more about that.
It makes me hesitant to take the light rail at certain times, so I know that my friends and I have pretty firm ideas on when we will and won't take it.
Breaking tonight, 6 seconds In the time it takes to read this sentence, that's how long it took for a man to kill Iryna Zarutska on the light rail. Good evening, I'm Erica Bryant.
I'm Scott Wickersham. Those are exclusive new details we are learning from CAT's leaders. And on Friday night, they say DeCarlos Brown got on the light rail and was sitting behind Zarutska and then stabbed her to death. Breaking this afternoon, Brown has now been booked into the county jail. He had been in the hospital since the attack happened.
Now, for the past 5 days, we've been pushing CATS for answers about this tragic case that has frightened so many who rely on the light rail.
Today, CAT's leadership sat down only with Channel 9's Hunter Signs. They insist there was no way they could have prevented Iryna's death.
Last Friday in South End on the Blue Line, what happened?
Iryna Zarutska was murdered. And I want to start off expressing my condolences to her friends and her family.
It's been a difficult and challenging week for these three men. Brent Cagle, the interim CEO of CATS, Eric Osnes, CATS's chief safety and security officer, and Lee Ratliff, assistant chief for professional security services, the company CATS contracts with to keep our transit system safe.
This kind of senseless violence, it shakes us all. It's shaken the community. It's shaken our riders. It's shaken our employees.
I'm sure you all have seen the surveillance video from on board. What can you tell us that you see in that video?
It was a pretty horrific event. It was a random act, something that I don't feel that any person from a law enforcement perspective, security perspective, could have done anything to prevent that.
What's even more haunting about this, if you look at the video, policing is about monitoring behavior. There was absolutely no behavioral cues that would have triggered an interaction with this individual. This individual was sitting down, for all intents and purposes, looked like he was just having a normal train ride. There was nothing about his demeanor. He wasn't sweating, he wasn't talking to himself, he wasn't interfacing.
That's why I wanted to play the video before I played their responses. If you see that surveillance video from the light rail, you saw that man was disturbed. Now, you wouldn't have known he would have done something like that, but you saw that man was disturbed. So what he just said is not true.
Facing in a manner that would have triggered attention to him that he was about to do a heinous act. And then all of a sudden you see his face change, he commits the act, and it's in a split second.
In 6 seconds, they tell us, Brown stabbed Zarutska to death out of nowhere. Brown's mother tells us her son suffers from schizophrenia and was homeless. CATS says there was not a security guard on that train when this all happened.
Was there a security failure that night?
No.
On this night, I think that while the outcome is horrific, is terrible, the system, the processes, they all functioned as they should have on that night. Now, I think knowing what we know now, there may have been other opportunities for this person to have got the help they needed, or to not been where they were that night. But on this night, I believe that the processes worked.
I want to talk about the things that were successful that night. The 911 call went in, okay? And then the response from the call coming in, 6 minutes, this person was in police custody.
You say your systems and policies worked, but a woman died.
Absolutely, and I acknowledge that.
We have heard from law enforcement that there is power in presence, that if he may have seen a guard on board that train that night, he could have thought twice before he did what he did.
I can't put a police officer or a security officer on every street in Charlotte. It's just not feasible. It's not, from a budget standpoint, from a hiring standpoint. The perception of having security and presence is always great, and we want to increase those numbers, right? But at the end of the day, if someone wants to commit a violent crime, and that crime can be done in seconds, okay, there's nothing that a police officer can do to stop that act from happening. We can react to it, but to prevent it, it's not a lot we could do.
Ratliff's professional security services company has 184 security officers working our transit system. He has the budget to hire up to 219. He says he's open to adding more, but that would be a decision the city has to make and fund.
Is there a desire to see more guards on our transit?
There is absolutely a desire to understand what happened and how we can move forward and learn from that. But I also know that when we think about trying to have security personnel everywhere throughout the system, every day, all day, it's a challenge. It's not something that is feasible.
We want to be this large, big city, a world-class city. There are other transit systems in this country that have a goal of putting 2 officers on every single train from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m., let's say. Why can't we do that here?
We can do anything we choose to do when we choose to do it, all right? But the thing I want to look at is there's budgets, there's numbers, there's all these things that go into factor into those decisions and how they're made.
Conversations and decisions that are garnering more attention, but came too late for an immigrant looking for a better life.
I can't change what took place, but what I can say is that we're going to learn from it, and we're going to grow from it, and we're going to become better from it. And I want the family to know that my heart goes out to them.
So this is the mayor of Charlotte, Val Lyles. It took her almost 2 weeks to release a statement. She just released a statement on yesterday morning. This is what she said. The video of the heartbreaking attack that took Iryna Zarutska's life is now public. I want to thank our media partners and community members who have chosen not to repost or share the footage out of respect for Iryna's family. That's a weird opening paragraph. This was a senseless and tragic loss. My prayers remain with her loved ones as they continue to grieve through an unimaginable time. Like so many of you, I'm heartbroken, and I've been thinking hard about what safety really looks like in our city. Really. I remain committed to doing all we can to protect our residents and ensure Charlotte is a place where everyone feels safe. Understand this. There is a mayoral election coming up this year in Charlotte, and more than likely Val Lyles will win. She's been in office for about 6, 7, or 8 years. I think she's running for a 4th term. We have 2-year terms here in Charlotte. And she wins because Charlotte and Mecklenburg County is a Democratic stronghold. So unless she's primary, she's going to win again. Because there is no and when she wins, she's not going to be incentivized to do anything about it. Because black political leaders are used to push these soft on crime policies because they're being used empathetically to push this stuff because the people behind them, the people that elect them, the people that fund their campaigns want lawlessness to reign in our cities because they want it to spill out, to cause division, to cause this angst amongst the ethnicities to usher in the revolution. That's what they've been pushing for forever. And so this sad situation that happened here, very, very sad, very, very troubling. I mean, the first time I heard about it 2 weeks ago, it was very, very sad and very, very troubling and very, very preventable. She was a refugee from Ukraine. She probably wasn't aware of, because when I get on the light rail, you always got to keep your head on the swivel. You got to be looking out for everything, and that does not justify or explain away or even place any kind of responsibility on her. She was just sitting on the light rail, riding home from work. It's sad. Very, very sad. And it was easily preventable. But again, these leaders, primarily black, in these urban areas, don't want to do anything about crime because it benefits them. It benefits them to paint black people as animals. It benefits them to paint black people as uncivilized, as savages. Why does it benefit them? Because it keeps them in their privileged perch, to where they can receive the money but still speak on the fact that these quote-unquote criminals need to be rehabilitated and not incarcerated. But let me know what you think in the comments. We're not victims. We are empowered for greatness.